Medicine burns when touched by fire. The smoke curls and spirals upward, and plumes of it rising, swirling, and pushing themselves in ribbons, higher and higher until the smell of it becomes the ancient aroma of blessing, teaching, and communion. Within its fragrant cloud, you can feel peace descend upon you. There is spirit here. You can feel it if you allow it. And that is the heart of the teaching, the allowing. Welcome to the Urban Grief Shamans. Grief protests and stirs within us a profound defiance against living a life filled with numbness. It emboldens wildness, like a thunderstorm, untamed. And as we learn, grief is the prime emotion for the soul's vitality. Contrary to common belief, grief is teeming with life. It resists being gentle, and yet moves us so passionately. There can be no doubt this emotion springs forth from the wells of the soul. In our podcast, we will explore this defiance, embrace its wildness, and find peace within its untamed vitality as we live in the hustle of everyday life. Join Patricia Jones, a psychotherapist, and John Moyer, a retired paramedic, as we explore the spiritual side of grief. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Urban Grief Shamans podcast. I'm your host, John Moyer, and today I am joined by the extraordinary Mora File, a beacon in the world of shamanic teaching and healing. In today's episode, we're diving into a topic that's as ancient as it is fascinating, the powerful role of the crone. Mora will share her insights into the crone's journey from nurturing wisdom to embracing life cycles. Mora has a 30-year history of holding sacred women's circles. So let's join her. So here we are, and I'm with a good friend, shamanic teacher, and a healer, Mora File. And I have to confess, Mora, that other than, I think, crone is an interesting name, I don't know much about the whole archetype.
The concept of crone is one who has journeyed around the wheel and reached the place where we would come to a time of wisdom, right? Where we've had the experience of being a young child, being a young maiden, being a mother. And now through the wisdom of having raised children, having participated with grandchildren, having managed grief, loss, these kinds of experiences that bring the wisdom to what is our cronehood. And so there is an understanding of a deeper power and connection to the creation energy. So to be a crone is one who understands the creation energy and the process of the cycles of life and death. And so we're coming into that age of reverence, that age of thoughtfulness, consideration. Everything is done from a place of having had many experiences in life. And so you have a sort of innate understanding of the world around you and your place within it. And we would reflect on it as the wisdom years, coming to that time of just understanding, shared wisdom.
I think I understand that in previous times there were different initiations that women healers, shamans, would go through as on their way to becoming a crone in the old meaning. Does any of that take place nowadays?
There certainly are ceremonies that can welcome those who are coming of age. Sometimes that's 50, sometimes that's 55, sometimes that's 60, that's 65. And we just did a little croning ceremony actually back in October with 2 women from our circle who have come into that turning of the wheel, coming to that age of wisdom And yeah, these ceremonies definitely happen. And I think in our culture, we have lost a lot of those ceremonies of the coming of age,
Yes.
whether it's moving from being a 12-year-old to a 13-year-old and suddenly being a tween. But as a young woman coming into her menses, as opposed to an older woman who is completing that cycle. And so the concept of what are we birthing as we come into our cronehood. And so what we are birthing is a deeper connection to the world around us and a responsibility to be a wisdom keeper, whether you are female or male, as we come into these years and in the wheel as we are as women. Cronehood is a very revered place to sit on the wheel so that others can come and ask questions and have knowledge and wisdom shared in a manner that is the heart. And there's I just had an experience of that yesterday with a niece who has just gone through a fairly significant bone cancer surgery, and it's been very hard for her. And so I gave her some divination cards, and I gave her some stones, and I gave her some techniques of breathing and coming into center and asking a question and pulling a divination card and having set up a sacred altar with a candle and some smudge. And as a 22-year-old, if I'm not teaching her that, how is she learning it? Where is she finding that? And she sent me a picture of this beautiful altar that she created and how much better she was feeling about herself and her connection to her own soul, right? To her own spiritual journey through why me? Why did this happen to me? And that's a beautiful example of what we can do as crones who have had our own experiences of trauma and challenge. And, life is full of disappointments. Life is full of challenges. And how do we get through them? And so as shamans, we can journey to our helping spirits, and we can ask these questions, and we can have various different kinds of information come back to us, or healings come back to us. And this is all very helpful. And so how can we teach this to younger and younger generations to begin to navigate through all of the challenges that they are facing and the fears that they have around climate change and what's going to happen on the planet if we don't do something? And so there's lots of youth who are very stressed, lots of older people who are also very stressed. And so the gift of working with the spirit realms in whatever way you work with the spirit realms, those of us who have studied shamanism have some very powerful tools that we can work with. And so how do we share those tools as well as men and women with those who are searching and wanting to find something to create meaning in their lives? So
is there a difference between what, when I hear the word an elder, I think of somebody who is wise and male or female. Is it a term that's used interchangeably? An elder, meaning either sex, where it's crone is considered a wise woman, but an elder too. Is it?
Definitely. Yes, definitely.
In your experience?
Yeah, the word elder, by its very nature, is one who has, like I say, gone around the wheel a number of times and gained wisdom in the process. And perhaps the word crone would also indicate one who has been working with that spiritual realm very consciously for many years. And so has gone through all of the stages from a place of deep practice and understanding that the role that they have taken comes to a place of cronehood. Elderhood. The elders of communities would have a certain reverence placed upon them because of the wisdom that they are bringing to the community and the stability or the understanding of what is needed. And they can bring it to the community in a manner that people respect and have reverence for, and will sit and listen to an elder in the same way that one would sit and listen to the crone. Yeah.
When I do healing sessions, I love working with my ancestors that I'll bring in to aid me. But I also ask the client to call in their ancestors, even if they're not aware of who they are. But it's the working with grandmother energy is, for me, it's just an incredible experience. And when I first started, I didn't think that there would be much of a difference between the ancestral grandmothers or the ancestral fathers. And but there is something about it, and I found it to be slightly very wise as they both, but there's something soft and nurturing. And I just thought, man, that what we need more of in this world right now is more grandmother energy. And so I guess that would be reflecting on we need more crones.
Definitely. If we're going to move out of patriarchal grip, which is the masculine energy by its nature feels like it has to be the conqueror, right? And so, whereas the matriarch or the crone or the wise woman or the elder is very much more the receptive. So they have a different kind of a nurturing energy. One of my longest and deepest connections is with an ancient grandmother helping spirit who I go to all the time and meet her at the sacred fire. And she just is very wise and sometimes is very quiet and says nothing, but what she does around the fire is the teaching, right? And so there are many ways that we can learn to understand and listen and watch and observe and feel that, as you say, this grandmotherly energy is very comforting. It's very soothing. It's very calming. There's a lot of comfort that comes from one who will just embrace you and accept you for who you are and where you are on the path. And so that's a lovely, compassionate place to be. Definitely.
If a woman is unable to have children, but as she grows older, that doesn't exclude her from being a crone, does it?
Not at all. Not at all. I have many friends
not
who
having
don't
that experience.
Yeah, but they become the nurturers of their community. I have lots of friends who are healers or therapists on many different levels who have been unable to have children or have chosen not to have children, or circumstances just did not allow for that to occur. And they still become the wise women of the community, and they hold all of the children of the community in their hearts. And yeah, I would say yes. Anyone who is an elder.
I was thinking of the women who are mothers because they've adopted children and grow old from that experience. And in many ways, they have a whole body of knowledge that women who are able to have their own children in their younger years wouldn't have, because of not going through that experience, taking on children, or infants, I should say, or young children as their own. And there's I think, a great wisdom in that is held by these women that do take care of other children. Any thoughts?
Yes, yeah, absolutely. No, I know women who have fostered children, who have adopted even some of the children that they have fostered, but that seeing the need that is out there for that nurturing kindness and caring nature, that is that feminine energy, of which we all have a masculine and feminine side. So even there are lots of nurturing male energy males out there, and who just have that deep, compassionate side of wanting to take care of and assist in healing and helping others, right? Whether they're young children or older children, even as we age, there is still that inner child that needs to be held, that needs to be taken care of, that needs to be comforted and made to feel safe and secure. And we all have that potential to provide and offer that to each other, to our world. So, yeah.
What's your thoughts on, is there a place for two-spirited people?
For two-spirited people, it would be the same kind of level of compassion. There's still kindness, there's still love, there's still nurturing and consideration, and the understanding around who we are as a heart-centered being, whether we are male, female, two-spirited, whether we identify as her, him, they. There's many different ways that we can identify with who we feel we are. And the most important part of our identity is that part of our soul that is here to be of assistance and bring something better into our world. We all have that potential. We all have that potential to be that. And yeah, I wouldn't separate anyone from having that capacity within their heart center to do that.
Can you speak to the rituals for crone ceremonies? Is there anything specific that people practice? How does the community come together for a celebration of recognition?
To welcome a woman into cronehood is to receive and honor her presence and to celebrate her unique experiences and the gifts that she brings to the circle, brings to the community. And each one of us has had our different challenges. And so it's through those different challenges that our unique light shines. And so when you're welcoming someone into that cronehood and really celebrating their journey, celebrating who they are and the experiences that they have gone through that have brought them to this time of understanding more of who they are and accepting more of who they are and not being in judgment. Lots of people have a lot of self-judgment. By the time you come to a place where you can honor a sister, honor a woman, honor a crone, is to feel the wisdom coming from and through them, that they have experienced it because of the age that they are. That you can't be a crone at 25 because you just haven't experienced enough of what life's challenges has been. And so even though you could be an old soul at 25, you still need to navigate around the wheel for another 25 years to really have an understanding of who you are and what it is that you are here to bring into the world with your unique gifts. And our celebrations and rituals would be to adorn one with a potentially a beautiful prayer shawl, right? And so when you see some of these elders or crones, they will be adorned with certain kinds of power necklaces or power shawls. Maybe they have hair adornments that are representing the gray hairs that have come through their time of journeying around the wheel. There's often an honoring with all of the elements of fire. So through smudging, air, through singing, through use of feathers, the use of sacred water that's been blessed with sacred herbs or essences. And this aspect of the earth walk, that we are all here doing this earth time. And that it is as a result of the dance that we've been doing for however many years we've been doing it. To come into this time of cronehood is to really understand your connection to the world around you, to the people who are around you, to your own self. There's just a deeper understanding of the oneness you're not separate from, and you don't have to prove yourself anymore. There's just an acceptance that comes. And so the honoring of all of these aspects of who you are as one who looks at the elemental forces that are out there and is one of those. And so when you think about the power of our helping spirits and who comes to us as we work with these ancient energies, these ancient beings, these powerful elementals, right? There's all kinds of teachers out there. And so the more we have the opportunity to journey to these great teachers, the more we have a deeper understanding of what's possible that we can bring to our world. And so we like to honor what each one of us has brought to this circle around the fire. So it's going to be unique to each.
How would a family want to celebrate these older women who perhaps don't see themselves as a crone, as a wise person, but by virtue of their love and the wisdom that they carry, that they may not be spoken about much? Is there a way for a family to honor the elderly, the elder women, who's not recognized formally as a crone?
Certain cultures will have a great reverence. When my mother before she passed away, there are things that I think each family is going to have to come to their own understanding of what the gift of the grandmother or the mother has brought to the lineage. What's the lineage? So yesterday we celebrated my mom, what would have been my mom's 89th birthday. And so my daughter made a special meal that was a favorite of my mom's. And we sat around the table and we just talked about what we remembered about how she had touched us and how she had brought joy to our lives. And so even for those who have gone, we need to continue to remember and celebrate them. And so for the living, it's really about taking the time, especially at their birthday, right? Because they've had another year around the wheel. And would it not be a beautiful thing to hold a moment of reverence and say, thank you for having brought me this understanding, or thank you for having shared this wisdom, or thank you for having been a light during my time of darkness, or right, to just have a moment of gratitude and reflection on how people touch our lives. And so we try and make this happen within our family. What are you grateful for? What's this person taught you? How can you hold that reverence? And it's a beautiful thing if you can have my grandchildren have great grandparents still. So we try and do things that are special, that make them feel that they're not forgotten, right? And so sometimes it's a lot for my dad to be around his great grandchildren because they are busy and loud. But this idea of creating a time of reverence, I think these are traditions that we've lost that need to be created, and ceremonies and rituals that can be done to honor the gifts of the elders that they bring to our world. Even if it's a small community or a small family, there's great teachings that can come through all of that. So,
yeah, my mother passed, it would be, I think, 10 years now. It doesn't seem like it's been that long. But her greatest wisdom to me came after her death. And it was a couple of years after she passed, and I was trying to just contact her in the other world through journey work. And it took me 2 years, and we finally connected, and it was a middle world journey, and she basically just came walking into the house, her house, and she looked pretty much the same, a little bit younger, I'd say, than when she passed. But during our conversation, I had asked her if she was proud of me. And she just looked at me and she says, achievements don't mean much on this side. And that summed up our conversation more or less. And it was after that, Maria, I thought about that if achievements have no merit on that side, then our failures have no merit. All the things that we vexed over. And that part of it, I'm sure she left that part for me to just ponder and come up with that piece of knowledge or that wisdom, that no matter how much that we think that we get that bigger house, the bigger car, make $1 zillion, it doesn't matter. Just as if we never amount to much, we can't hold down a job, or we've been blessed with prolonged suffering. Our failures just don't have, it doesn't matter. We're all, at the end of the day, are sacred hearts.
Yes, it comes down to your heart. It comes back to how much kindness can you do for others? How much can you, if I bring any wisdom into my grandchildren's daily focus, it's kindness. Can we do something or say something that would reflect a kindness? Did you do a kindness at school today? Have you done a kindness for your mother today or for me today? What would be a kindness that you could do? Maybe that's just a hug. Maybe for them, that's just to come and give you a hug. And that's a kindness. And so if as a crone, I could teach children to just be kind to each other and to the world, then we would start to regenerate that energy of kindness, and that it's not about your achievements. It's about, even our educational system is so geared to us being successful. So the grading, if you have a grade that is an A, B, or a C, somehow that's going to determine how you interpret how you feel about yourself based on what somebody else has interpreted you to be. And so if you could just have a place of acceptance that, like you say, I'm here, I'm learning, I have my successes, I have my failures, and in the process, I am growing. And if I can continue to grow and just be holding a place of, does a tree ever say to itself, am I providing enough shelter? Do I have enough branches to support enough nests? Are my roots growing deep enough and linking with all of these rooted systems? No, a tree is just being in that place of unfolding. And maybe that's something that as a crone, you have now learned, that all of the achievements that you have made, or all of the accolades that you have experienced, or all of the awards that you might have won, in the end, it's just hardware, right? That sits on a shelf or on a wall. And can you be happy with yourself and with your place in the world as one who can be kind to another? And that kindness can be a smile as you walk down the street, and hold a door for another older person, or just give a hand because it's a kind thing to do. So,
do you think when it comes to grief and grieving, are the crones better prepared for that time in their life than those who are younger, not yet come into the crone ship?
I would speak from my own center maybe, but and I have no fear of deaths. If I live to be 90, I just become an older crone. But if I look at my niece who is 22, who has a great fear of dying, and is this cancer going to come back and take me down? I've watched it take other people down. It might take me down. And if you can just help people to understand that the gifts that they bring to this world are not perhaps based on the number of years that you have lived in this lifetime, but what is the light that you have brought in the time that you have been here? And so, it's an interesting question to think about. And I know lots of elderly people who are very fearful of death. They're not ready for it. They're not embracing it. They're trying to squeeze everything that they can out of what's left of their life. And I don't feel like I need to do that. Maybe because I have my shamanic understanding of what it is to be a soul that continues on the journey, right? And so we are here in this lifetime holding a physical body that, if we can have kindness and reverence for, then that can ripple out and be kindness and reverence for others as well. And so to be a light that shines as an example of what's possible, when, you talk to some Manchurians and you say, oh, what's the key to your age and longevity? And they will, every single one will say, happiness, joy, just don't let life stress you out. Like, why are you getting stressed out about things that you can't change? We have to learn to accept and grow and come from that place of joy. If you can come from that place of joy and just have an open heart. And even though a centurion has lost their partners, they've probably lost their friends, they've probably lost some of their children, and still they find joy.
Uh-huh.
And it's curious. It's curious, right? So what is it that are they hanging on to something and not wanting to leave, or are they just still in a place of joy? It's not time to go yet. So I've met some of those kinds of people, and that's wonderful. That's wonderful that they can hold that energy of joy. So strive for that. Strive for that.
Well, that would be a good place to say thank you. Thank you for your wisdom tonight. And I'm sure that your words are going to be quite impressive to those who listen to this particular episode. So I want to thank you for making the time to be on this show.
Thank you for making these podcasts happen. So blessings to you and all you're doing too.
Yep. Love and gratitude.
Love and gratitude to you,
Good
my
night.
brother.
Grief is a heavy burden to bear and can often feel isolating and overwhelming. That's where grief circles come in, offering a supportive and understanding community to those who are grieving. You can't be both the griever and the container of your grief. This is the purpose of grief circles, to be the holder and the witness to your pain. Your soul wants you to speak of your grief, to express your pain, your loss, and to share your history and stories of that which has been taken. The Urban Grief Shamans podcast is an offshoot of Soulful Sorrows, a grief-tending website. Here, under the service menu, you will find our monthly circles. Please take the time to take a look and book into one or more of these monthly circles. Thank you for joining us into the world of shamanism and its connection to grief, healing, and spiritual growth. If you enjoyed this conversation, be sure to subscribe to the Urban Grief Shamans so you never miss an episode. And if you have any questions or would like to explore this topic further, please reach out to us for comments. Until next time, may you find grace and insight into your own spiritual journey.